Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the Richmond City Council meeting for Monday, December 7th, 2020 to order. Madam Clerk, on the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there can be a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 23rd and adopt the minutes of the special council meeting held on November 23rd, 2020.
All right, we have a motion.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, errors, or omissions? All those in favor?
Yes, Councillor Wolf.
Yes.
Councillor Wolf here. I'm just in the dark because the power just went out. So in case you can't see me, or I'm here.
It does look rather Halloweenish from this end, I have to admit. But in any case, as ever, if you can leave your video on or off, but if you want to raise a point, of course, just raise your hand as usual. All right, so all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Madam Clerk, any agenda additions or deletions?
We have one agenda deletion this evening, and that's for tonight's special presentation by the Richmond Christmas Fund that is being rescheduled to January at the request of the presenters.
Okay, I don't think I need a motion on that one. Yeah, we'll expect to hear from them, the Christmas Fund, sometime in January, once they've gone past their year end. Nobody's allowed to come to the council chambers, and we don't have anybody coming into the meeting. So we don't need to resolve in the committee of the whole. That takes me right to the consent agenda. We have the receipt of the committee minutes, the City Events Program 2021, the Environment and Climate Change Canada discussion paper on plastics action, the City of Richmond's response. We have the credit card payment service fee bylaw, and the amendment, the proposed updates to access and inclusion policy, and the rescindment of the city buildings accessibility policy. Land use applications for first reading to be further considered at the public hearing on January 18th, 8951 and 71 Spires Road, 8991, and the surplus portion of the Spires Road allowance, rezoning from RS1E to RTP4 zone. And also we have 9300 and 9320 Cambie Road rezoning from RS1F to ZLR 43 zone. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? Moved and seconded. Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting the consent agenda and just really want to speak to item number 7, the City Events Program for 2021. I'm really happy to be able to support this, and I think, now more than ever, our community needs events to look forward to, and I really have to give credit. There are so many people that we need to thank who have been able to pivot and bring events to the community in a new way, in a virtual way, although some of the events that we did have, like the Children's Art Festival, was held last year, but will be virtual this year. We didn't have a Cherry Blossom Festival last year, but we will be having an event this year. So many of the events were just done fantastic. Our staff working with the community associations, volunteers, artists, a broad array of artists. So I think this is just incredible. I do have a couple of questions, Your Worship. Now, I know that Your Worship, Councillor Liu, Councillor McNulty, and myself, we attended the Steveston Community Association Community Engagement Evening last week, and they did give us an update on some of the things they're planning, and they're really looking forward to being able to provide the Steveston Salmon Festival in some form. And they did mention the farmers market. So my question to you, Your Worship, is to staff. They're hoping to be able to bring back their farmers market in some form, maybe 5 to 10 markets. And so is the money that we've, allocated, will there be enough to, perhaps help them out with some of their logistics?
Through Your Worship, to Councillor McPhail, we do believe that allocation should be able to support a summer market as well as the existing market, similar to what we did this year. So we had the Steveston Salmon Festival, or Steveston Community Society, was not able to provide the market this year. but we do think that this funding should be able to support that market.
That's really great to hear, because I know the Kwantlen market has been very successful, and I know people really miss the Steveston summer market. So that's really great. Glad to hear. And my last question, at committee there was discussion, and I think it came from Ms. Barnes from the Richmond Art Coalition, about the opportunity to provide more cultural events. Now, given, you've had maybe a week to think about it, are there going to be opportunities, do you think, to be able to provide more of the cultural type events with the events that we have already right now? Or is there the possibility of having another event, say sometime, something like the World Festival? I mean, we don't know what it's going to be like in the fall.
Through your worship to Councillor McPhail, as we were developing the proposal for this report, we definitely had in mind continuing to envision events that would contribute to the outcomes of the Richmond World Festival. So certainly looking at opportunities to celebrate Richmond's diversity, to provide opportunities for ethnic and cultural communities in the city to share their arts and cultural and heritage contributions with the public. So through some of the elements that we have proposed, whether it be the Neighborhood Celebration Grants Program or the Richmond Has Heart Initiative, or even some of the events that we traditionally do on an annual basis, we do believe that we can meet some of those outcomes.
That's really good to hear, and thank you so much.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. I'll be supporting everything on the consent agenda as well. I wanted to speak to a couple of the items. Item number 9 is the credit card payment service fee. We're proposing increasing the service fee from 1.75% to 2%. And I think this is an important change because it does cost us money to use credit cards for payments. And this is really about just recovering those costs. And when you think about it, allowing credit cards in the city is a privilege. And I don't think the taxpayer should pay for that. So I feel this is fiscally responsible, and I think it's the right thing to do. So I'll be supporting that. Item number 11 is the development on 8951 and 8971 Spires Road and Spires Gate as well. I'm going to support sending this to public hearing, but I do have some pretty serious concerns about this development. This is basically a townhouse complex that's going to go in, and let's face it, that entire area of Spires is going to be densified as it moves forward into the future. But this one seems, I'm concerned about parking mostly. There's going to be 22 units and 2 auxiliary suites, and then there's only going to be 27 parking spots. And even though it's close to transit, I am worried that's not quite enough. But my biggest concern isn't even that. It's that 10 of those parking spots are tandem parking, one behind the other. And so if the public want to refer to page 180, there's a map of what the parking is going to look like. So I'm going to support sending this to public hearing, and I hope that the public will come out and tell us, are we right? Are we wrong? Is this the right way to go? And I wanted to briefly speak about item number 12, which is an application by Westmart Developments for 9320 and 9300 Canby Road. This development is interesting. It's a high-density, multi-use, low-rise apartment. And basically, if the public go to page 244, you'll see a map. And there's going to be a bisected section. So you've got a big lot, and then the road is going to cut off one little corner of this development, and that's going to be a community garden. And I was a little concerned about that initially because I thought, well, how's that going to work? I mean, it's not even connected to the complex. But I guess there's going to be gates and locks so that people can get in. So while the public won't have access to the community gardens, it will be nonetheless a green space. And I think that the people who are living in this highly densified area are going to appreciate that. So I will be supporting this at this time. Thank you so much, Mayor Brody.
Okay, Councillor McNulty.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple comments. First of all, I'm going to be supporting the civic events, I think it's important as well, and Councillor McPhail outlined it very carefully. I just have a question, two questions on that. Number one, if these events were not able to be held, and given what we've heard this afternoon from Dr. Henry, where we're going, will the money be available to do virtual events and stay in the pot for each one of those?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, as we've been envisioning these events as proposed in the report, we are anticipating that there will be some level of restrictions, hopefully not the same as what we've heard today throughout the year, but we are intending to incorporate a virtual component to many of the events. Some may not be conducive to that, like the farmers market, perhaps. Although right now the markets are allowed with food produce being sold through the current restrictions. But for any of the other events, we are planning to have a virtual component, and any in-person activation would be sort of an add-on to that virtual component.
Well, that's good to hear. I do echo the comments given the success of Kwantlen every Tuesday that we try to do something to help Steveston also because they have different clientele and they have their own people to come to their market. And I would hope that they could have even a live market, even with let's say 10 stalls as opposed to the 30 or 40 stalls that they have. I hope staff can work with them to do that. But my third question on that, in terms of the arts event, is there any group out there to have an arts event or two over the next year, whether they be virtual or others? In that we know one group of, I guess it was the Arts Coalition, had a photography display at Lansdowne, which was virtual. But those kinds of things, because I think the arts are kind of being left out here, and I think we should try to promote them. I'm not saying they're any easier to promote than any other event, but I think it's something that's a bit missing in terms of our own. And I know you weren't given direction on that, but maybe take it under advisement, if nothing else.
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, I think we would intend to incorporate an arts component into any event that we did feel was appropriate. So, yes, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Your worship, if I may, in terms of supporting our climate action paper, and are we prepared to circulate our results and what we're saying about that paper? And are we getting anybody else, has any other municipality from Metro Vancouver been asked to comment on it?
Through your worship,
or whoever.
through your worship to Councillor McNulty, I can advise that we are in regular communications with other cities and the Metro Vancouver Regional District on this, and we are sharing this information with them because others have also been asked to respond to this initiative.
Will we have an opportunity to see any of these comments, or are they sort of sent in isolation?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, they generally are set, each area sends their own comments in. We do monitor them at the staff level to determine if there's any comments coming forward that we think would be beneficial as well, and we incorporate those as appropriate when we're reporting to council. But generally, each area does send in their own comments independently.
Okay. And is the proponent prepared to, when they accumulate everything and analyze it, are they prepared to give a summary back, some feedback on what they're going to do with all the comments that received? One, what they've received, but also what they're going to do.
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, actually on this federal discussion guide, there has been regular interactions through webinars
that the federal government has put on, and all of our Richmond staff have participated in all of them. There will be one in January where we will be able to hear feedback as well. So that they have been involving us.
Okay. In that case, then, could council be updated on a regular basis?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, if that is council's wish, of course.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Steves.
Thanks. I support everything that's on the agenda. I do have a question about the events, however. Are we going to be rehiring the auxiliary staff at Britannia this summer? The reason we didn't have any events at Britannia, I was told, was we had nobody there to make sure that people socially distance themselves as they walk through the buildings. So there's no reason we can't have a few boats tied up and people walk through the Britannia building along the dock, see the boats, and walk out through the Gillnet loft. But I was told there were only 2 people down there that couldn't do it. So what's going to be the situation this summer?
Through your worship to Councillor Steves, perhaps I can address that question. The original timing for Maritime Festival in this past year in 2020, it was not aligned with where we were in our Restoring Richmond program. So certainly the program for 2020, everything will be dependent on where we are in terms of provincial guidelines in the Restoring Richmond program. But we do anticipate we'll be better equipped to plan for an in-person boat event in 2021.
Okay, I hope so. Thanks.
Councillor Wolf.
Yes, the power is still out here in Hamilton. Just a heads up, I'm going to speak on only one item on the consent agenda, and there were 2 items from Planning Committee, which I'm not on, which I'm actually no longer, well, I've never been in support of them. So I'm actually going to request that 2 items get taken off the consent agenda, and I'll speak to them after. So the only one I'm going to speak to now is number 8 about the policy paper, or the comments from the city. So I support the comments. I just wanted to highlight a couple things I didn't mention at the general purposes meeting. So I do feel that the federal government hasn't gone far enough. For example, bottle caps, cups, and lids are not on the list of banned items, yet those are among the top 10 items that are found on shoreline cleanups, such as ones held around Richmond. So I think they didn't get the priorities straight. They need to take the approach of turning off the tap, dealing with things at the source, not just the recycling, which is a very intensive process. Anyhow, I feel this is not leading us to any circular economy, which our city has made as a strategic goal for ourselves. I don't think it's leading to zero waste. It's just leading to more recycling. Regardless, I think the comments from the city are great, and the city is aware of other items that are in our environment, such as sunken boats, and some of these things are multi-jurisdictional, so I appreciate the city's participation in the federal government's process, but yeah, much more work to be done. And I didn't see anything in there related to junk removal companies, which, as far as I'm aware, they can make the choice to recycle things, but for the most part, what I've heard is they go directly to the landfill because they're paid to get on to the next job. And my final comment on that one is I did make it to our recycle center on the weekend, soon to be open 7 days, and I really appreciated the staff. They were just incredible, the flow that was going through there, and how many people were surprised at items that they would take, and I ended up leaving with more stuff than I thought, because there's still a number of items that don't get picked up, even at centers like that. Anyhow, I won't go into the list of those items. So I will support all the items on the consent agenda, except items 11 and 12, and I'll speak to the reasons after. Sorry for not mentioning that earlier.
Okay, we'll take items 11 and 12 and we'll deal with them separately. Councillor Howe. You're muted, Chuck.
Okay. Yes, Your Worship. I have questions on 2 items. The first one is on item 7. Of course, I'm supportive of the scaled back budget for the next year because of pandemic. We have to reduce the kind of events that we have to do. But I'm more optimistic, and I perhaps feel that maybe next year we may be able to do something more than that we planned for at this time. So I want to ask staff, what will be the process if we have to increase the budget for some of the events next year? So, say for example, in summer we want to do more, or with expand scale of the activities, and we need more money. So, what's the process of having more money in the budget for those programs?
Through your worship to Councillor L, we are also hopeful that this will be the case. We did want to put together a program that would be appealing at this stage of the game. Certainly, if the restrictions relax significantly and things change, our intent would be to come back to council. I think what we proposed in the report was in the form of a memo, and if there was an additional request for funding, then we would include that at that point, where we thought that we could increase the scope of any of the events that we've proposed.
Okay, good.
Or additional events should opportunities arise.
Great. Now, I also have a question on one of the proposed events. On CNCL 109, on this neighborhood celebration grant, staff seems to we don't do anything for now. We wait for the opportunity to relaunch the program. However, I feel that actually we should encourage some kind of neighborhood celebrations or neighborhood connections during this time. Maybe we have to go virtually. And instead of just waiting for the opportunity to relaunch those programs in person physically, maybe we can launch the program virtually. We should encourage the people in the neighborhood to connect with each other through the Zoom or whatever, and some kind of social activities to deal with the depression or the negative emotions that they have right now because of the pandemic. So I would suggest that instead of waiting for the relaunch of the program physically, maybe we should have, since we have the money already, we have the budget already, so maybe we can change the format like in other programs, that we encourage the neighborhood people to start their programs in a different format. So any comments from staff?
Through your worship to Councillor L, we would be happy to look at revising the terms or the scope of the Neighborhood Celebration Grants Program should we be given that direction to include virtual opportunities. That would be in alignment with the health directions of the day, as well as, of course, the Restoring Richmond plan. We'd be happy to look at that, definitely. Currently, the scope of the program was for outdoor events that brought neighborhood members together. So I think we would need to go out to the community with a different ask, perhaps, in terms of proposals.
So, Your Worship, if staff needs a direction, I would suggest that we give staff that direction, that they explore the possibility of having some of these programs online, because this will be very important for the emotional and the psychological welfare of the people in our community. So I would suggest that we give a direction to staff to have that kind of exploration.
Yeah, it seems to me to be a reasonable approach, all right. I would only reflect that when you're having a virtual event, there's going to be very little cost to that. So the amount of your grant would probably be far less for each neighborhood that's doing that. But is everybody content that we give that kind of a direction to staff? Consider virtual events, not just in-person events? Anybody not like that idea? Okay, so staff, consider you've got that direction.
Okay, great. And I have another question on item 8. my question basically is, now I like the comments that have been provided by staff to the federal government on the discussion paper. But how does staff look at the issue? Is there any kind of synergy between the approach of federal government and the initiative that has been provided by the city on the ban on plastics? So, do you see any synergies between these two levels of government, the federal approach and our local approach?
Through your worship to Councillor Al, I believe that they're very complementary in terms of the actions that the city is intending to take, as well as that of the federal government. So I do see synergies there in that not only the federal government is now taking the initiative of single-use plastic seriously as part of its agenda, the city has, and the province is taking additional action as well. So I think we're going to see a groundswell of change starting to happen with all levels of government involved.
Good. And in particular, on CNCL 143, the item 4 and 6, I think since you provided comments on the end of life management of lost fishing gear already, I think the city should also think about what we can do as a city instead of waiting for the federal government to take the lead. I think since we are also a harbor community, we should take some initiative on ourselves. I know that last week when we talked about this, staff have been given some directions. But also on item 6, the EV batteries. I think perhaps, as a city, it's also time for us to begin to look at how to recycle or, how to deal with those EV batteries. Because as we are going to use more and more of those batteries, and some of them may be reaching the end of their life, then perhaps, there's a problem for the future. But I would suggest that on these two items, the management of lost fishing gear and also some of the things such as EV batteries, we should begin as a city to look at how to deal with those problems. So I would suggest that staff to begin to look at that.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
So with that, I'm going to support everything.
Okay. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I will be supporting everything on tonight's consent agenda. I just wanted to start by thanking staff for the really thoughtful and well-researched response on number 8 on the plastics for the government. It's clear that our staff has a lot of passion for this and a lot of knowledge around this. And I know we've done a lot on our plastic recycling and working to reduce the use of plastic in the first place in Richmond. And I think this is just continuing our work and working in a good way. I also know that a number of us were at the expanded recycling facility a few weeks ago. We got to see how staff has expanded that facility, made it better, and we're all excited for it to be opening up at the beginning of January, 7 days a week, because we can see there is a demand in our community to be able to recycle things properly and to dispose of things properly. I do know that the Steveston Harbour Authority has been collecting and recycling the lost nets for a number of years now. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Joel Baziak that sort of started leading that many years ago, and he has a program where he collects it from all the different fisher people who do fishing. And I think my understanding is they send it off to somewhere in Croatia or something to get it recycled. So they already have a program in place. They're the ones that sort of handle it in the regional area, and they've been doing it for a lot of years. So, I invite the other councillors to reach out if they haven't already reached out to Steveston Harbour Authority to find out more about that, or perhaps we could get them to tell us a little bit more about that, because I know they've been doing it for a number of years now, and they've won awards on it, I think, for being a regional for this project that they've done. And they were one of the first to recognize that this was an issue and to get moving on it. I'm also pleased that we're still trying to do something with the city events program for 2021. I know it's been such a struggle So many people had their events canceled last year, and many people are looking forward to a Christmas that's not going to be anywhere near what they were hoping for this year. I do hope that we have some opportunities as the vaccines roll out for more events in the new year, and especially for the neighborhood celebration grants. I would like to thank my neighbors in Westwind. They organized one for last night, actually. They sent around notes a few weeks ago, and they encouraged everyone to put up their lights and have them up for last night, have them all on for last night. And there were tons of people walking around, being socially distanced, but just being out in the neighborhood, enjoying each other's company, saying hello to each other, and walking around and enjoying everybody's light displays. And so Westwind was quite lit up last night. I'd like to thank the organizers for doing that. I know that the church I attend, St. Joseph the Worker, they'll be doing a drive-by thing on the 12th. And I think a lot of other neighborhoods and church groups and religious groups, they have, I'm seeing them decorating, and I know that they're getting out there and thinking of different ways to get people out, to get them together, but still keep them safe way until we're able to get together more. So I encourage people to think of those different ways. It's not only virtual. Sometimes we need to just get out of our house on those balmy evenings and say hello to your neighbors and see what else we can do to make our neighborhoods better.
Okay, so 11 and 12 have been removed. So I'll call the question on all the other matters. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? That is carried. Then we'll go to number 11. Sorry? Did I hear something? Was that you, Harold? Something? Somebody said something? Okay, we're going to number 11. And I'll ask Councillor McPhail to read that out.
Thank you, Your Worship. Number 11, application by Flat Architecture, Inc. for rezoning at 8951 and 8971 Spires Road, 8991 Spires Gate, and the surplus portion of the Spires Road allowance from the single detached RS1E zone to the parking structure townhouse RTP4 zone. The Planning Committee recommendation is that Richmond Zoning Bylaw 8500, Amendment Bylaw 10218, for the rezoning of 8951 and 8971 Spires Road, 8991 Spires Gate, and the surplus portion of the Spires Road road allowance from the single detached RS1E zone to the parking structure townhouses RTP4 zone be introduced and given first reading, and I would so move. Second.
There's, Councillor McPhail, we need to add number 9 from the closed agenda onto that, because that matter, it was contemplated that that would be considered together with this item. Did you want to read that out, or I can do that?
Okay, I've got it. Road closure and removal of road dedication bylaw number 10223, portion of road adjacent to 8951 and 8971 Spires Road and 8991 Spires Gate, and disposition of the road of the closed road area in relation to RZ 18-818420. It's quite a lengthy recommendation, so I would just say as what's on the report.
As on the closed agenda.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and we can
And
publish that along with
Yes.
the rest of it. So
Yes.
you're moving that?
Yes.
Okay, second. So they're both 11 from the yellow agenda and number 9 from the closed agenda are all on the agenda right now. Did you
Yes.
want to comment?
Sure, I'll just make some brief comments. The development, the application is for 22 units, 2 single-level basic universal housing units at grade, 18 3-story units on the podium, and 2 4-story units, each with a 2-bedroom ground-level secondary suite. This area is in transition. We had a really good discussion at Planning Committee. There is a project just south of this. There's also a city capital project around the corner, so there was concern about pedestrian traffic and just general car traffic, and for the livability of the neighbors. And so staff said that there will have to be a construction and traffic plan in place to take all that into consideration.
All right. Anybody wanting, Councillor Wolf, I can see your hand coming out of the dark. Go
Yes,
ahead.
the power's still out here in Hamilton, and I'm just letting you know my iPad disconnected and it wouldn't let me reconnect, so now I'm on my phone. And I wasn't able to put up my hand. There's no option. So anyhow, thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, thank you. I'll be brief in case some other issue comes up. So I'm going to remain opposed to this. When we discussed the Spires Road area plan, there was a referral made to staff, and there were a couple of significant parts to that referral, which is why I think this item isn't ready to be discussed yet and should be.
I think we just lost you. Turn off your video. That might help us hear you more.
Yeah, how's that? Is that any clearer?
Yep, that's good.
Good. Oh, thank you for giving me the update. So the referral to staff includes pedestrian connections, development permit guidelines, permitted density for the region, and park space. And I think if visiting this site, the one in question here, one of the parcels I think is the highest density of trees. And if we're not going to use the 4 parcels to the north of these 3 for park space, that was the original, they were benchmarked for that, and that might not stick. So staff might be looking into other areas to purchase land to have a park, and I think there's a good candidate in this parcel. So and all 19 of the trees would be removed as part of this process here tonight. So I think sending it to public hearing is one thing, but like we've heard, this is an area in transition. There's not a lot of long-term residents left, and many of the new ones aren't there yet. So I don't think it's prudent on us to go ahead with this when there's such a significant referral to staff in this area. So with that, I'll be opposed to this. Thank you.
I'd like to ask staff, the referral that Councillor Wolf mentions, didn't we exclude from consideration in answering that referral in-stream applications, of which this has been on forever?
Your Worship, yes, when the referral was made, there was discussion about how we would handle applications which were already in stream, and the indication was that they would be processed in the normal manner. I may add, although it is early days in the referral, we do not anticipate that the elements of that referral are going to impact this site in a way which would preclude this development.
All right. Councillor Day.
Mayor Brody, and thank you to Councillor Wolf for reminding me about that referral. I had forgotten about that. This is one of the reasons I was against this proposal, but willing to send it to public hearing. Now that I think I'm reminded, and I think I would rather this go back as a referral item back to staff, because there are too many unanswered questions, and this area of Richmond is really important. It's right in the hub, and I think we need to make sure we get this right. So I'll actually not be supporting this application to go to public hearing.
Mr. Erceg, how long has this application been in the works?
Your Worship, I'm going to ask Wayne Craig to address that, but I would expect that it's probably been in for about 8 or 9 months, so a considerable period of time.
Through your Worship, this application was actually submitted to the city in 2018, so it has been in process for quite some time.
Over 2 years. Okay, I'm going to call the question then on the motion, which is 11, and then included in that is number 9 from the closed. All those in favor? Those opposed?
Councillor Wolf opposed.
Yeah, it's carried with Councillor Wolf, Councillor Day opposed. And number 12, Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item number 12, application by Westmark Developments, Camelson Limited for rezoning at 9300 and 9320 Canby Road from the single detached RS1F zone to the low-rise apartment ZLR43 zone. Planning Committee recommendation is that Richmond Zoning Bylaw 8500, Amendment Bylaw 10219 to create the low-rise apartment ZLR43 Alexandra Neighborhood, West Canby Zone, and to rezone 9300 and 9320 Canby Road from the single detached RS1F zone to the low-rise apartment ZLR43 Alexandra Neighborhood, West Canby Zone be introduced and given first reading, and I would so move.
So that's moved and seconded. Did you wish to comment?
Just briefly, the proposed rezoning is to accommodate approximately 128 residential apartment units, including 5 on-site affordable housing units, two two-bedroom units, and 3 three-bedroom units. So good family-sized condos. This is an orphaned lot, so there was no ability for other developments on there, and thank you.
All right. Who would like to comment on that? Councillor Wolf, I assume you do?
Yes, please. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a very brief comment again. On this one, I'm opposed. There's 2 points I'd like to raise on this one. One is the West Canby area, where this parcel is, has had a number of similar cases where trees have been brought to poor health and then they've been assessed and deemed to be removed. And you can clearly see in this case the line of trees in the middle of the parcel that's running from Canby Road south. They're impacted because their root systems are buried by the pre-fill that's on there. And because we have from staff returning the referral on trees for private property, I think this is an excellent example that staff can learn from and developers can try and not repeat the damage that was done in this case. Second point, if you visit this area, May Drive is the road just to the east of it, and I know I've grown up in the area. I know people who live in the area, and it's incredible how unsafe it is due to people parking in just sporadic ways, parking like into the lanes of traffic because there's blackberry and other things that people don't want to scratch their vehicle with. And so I think we need to deal with the parking in this area, especially as there's moving trucks every day loading more people in, and so the decision tonight, if we were to move this one ahead, we can't even assess the additional congestion and unsafe manner we're going to be putting to pedestrians and cyclists and other traffic users of the roadways around the north part of West Canby. So for those safety reasons, I'm going to be opposing this. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other speakers. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed?
Councillor Wolf.
Okay, so it's carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. And that finishes the business agenda. So, we have public announcements, and there's a number of them. First of all, Council has made quite a few appointments today and in previous meetings. But I want to announce that an agreement with London Heritage Farm Society has been executed. John Mills has been appointed as Richmond's representative on the 2010 Games Operating Trust Society Board until their annual general meeting in 2021. And then there's a number of appointments. They are all until December 31st, 2022, with one exception that I'll get to quickly. So from the Ministry Center for Active Living Program Committee, we have Henry Bay, Ilario Galano, Jim Lamont, Christina Sequeira. They were all appointed. Bill Sorensen, he took over a shortened term, and his will expire on December 31st, 2021. So that's the one exception to the December 31st, 2022. On the Aquatic Services Board, we have Sonia Dong, Bruce Raber, Alexei Babarev, Bonnie Tudor, and Zoe Strong. They were appointed. For the Food Security and Agricultural Advisory Committee, appointments include Corey May, Michael Bomford, Sarah Drury, and Ian Lai, as well as Laura Galanders and Chris Pereira. Wilson Chang was reappointed to the Advisory Committee on the Environment for that 2-year term, as were Spencer Peters, Stephanie Snowpeck, and Stephanie C. Then an appointment to the Food Security and Agricultural Advisory Committee was Urtsai Institutoritz, and Floyd Yamamoto was appointed to the YVR Environmental Advisory Committee as an alternate citizen for 2 years, and the Advisory Committee on the Environment also for 2 years. Then we have the appointment to the YVR Aeronautical Noise Management Committee, Arvind Sharma. Richmond Heritage Committee, there's going to be a call for applications for the Heritage Commission, and that's going to continue in 2021 to fill the 3 vacancies. Appointments to the Advisory Design Panel, Pamela Andrews, Paul Ansiu, Robert Britton, and Kelly Riopel, as well as Sean Smackell. Appointments to the Richmond Public Library Board, Diane Kauser and Shireen Murhi, Denise Huey, and Danielle Lemon. Then I'm pleased to announce the recipients of the 2020 Richmond Heritage Awards. They go to 2 organizations. First of all, the Richmond Museum Society for their contributions to the public history and heritage education through their recently launched self-guided historical walking tours at Terra Nova and Brighouse. And the Richmond Hospital and Healthcare Auxiliary was also given an award for their significant contribution to the conservation of historic places through their volunteer-led restoration efforts at the protected heritage building known as the Steveston Methodist Church, which is now home to the Auxiliary's thrift shop. The awards are based on public nominations, and they recognize Richmond individuals and organizations for their dedication to the conservation of historic places and for promoting an awareness of Richmond diverse heritage. Then we have the Support Local Business campaign. As we enter the holiday season, it's important to remember the importance of supporting our local businesses, especially during this time of COVID-19. The city's Economic Development Office encourages everyone to consider shopping from local businesses, vendors, suppliers, and merchants. Many local businesses are offering online ordering services and curbside pickup for added safety, as well as gift certificates. So for a list of the local vendors, go online to businessinrichmond.ca. Then we have a number of virtual holiday events. Many of our events, which are held in person, are going online this season. So among the fun family things that are offered, there's a free online intergenerational music concert of familiar and popular holiday tunes on Friday, December 11th at 2:45. The Steveston Museum's Songs in the Snow are on this coming Saturday, December 12th at 4 p.m. Join others via Zoom for festive songs and activities to embrace the holiday season in this family-oriented virtual event. And there's an online holiday wreath-making workshop on Thursday, December the 17th at 6 p.m. So for more information on those, again, you've got to go online to richmond.ca/events. Then we want to have a waste-free Christmas. Richmond is again joining other Metro Vancouver communities in encouraging everyone to find ways to reduce waste while celebrating the holidays. Consider wrapping gifts in reusable bags or boxes or with recycled papers. You can also give experiences rather than material items to further reduce the amount of packaging used. Now, the Richmond Recycling Depot, which we talked about earlier tonight, continues to accept a variety of materials often used in gift packaging as well as holiday items such as discarded Christmas string lights. For the full list of accepted items and hours, visit richmond.ca/recycle. For more ideas on how to reduce your holiday waste, including a gift-giving guide, visit creatememoriesnotgarbage.ca. And as always, we will provide information on Christmas tree recycling on the website and social media channels over the holiday season. Now, finally, it's essential for the public health that we take the latest orders into account. We need to continue to practice safe physical distancing, limit our contact with others, and adhere strictly to public health orders as they are issued this holiday season. The safety and well-being of our community is paramount, and we urge everyone in Richmond to continue to be safe and respect the safety of others. Now, in terms of the health orders, I just want to mention a very obvious one, which is that we have been advised that the public is no longer able to attend meetings such as this council meeting. Now, you can go online, you can go to YouTube to get the full version more or less at the same time for the council meetings and the committee meetings. But if you want to come and join the meeting as a delegation, you need to pre-register, phone the clerk's office here at City Hall, and our clerks will be able to tell you the entire rundown to make it easy for you so you can come as a delegation as you've done in the past with public delegations. Now, that will be for council meetings, for public hearings, for committee meetings. Reminder that the planning committee has already started its deliberations of various items. They had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and they will be continuing into the new year. We're hopeful that all the committees will be up and running virtually, but up and running come January. So more information on that one to come, but just a reminder, you can't come personally as a spectator or as a delegation, but what you can do is pre-register to be able to speak at our meeting at the appropriate time. And you can also watch online or on YouTube, depending on what meeting you're attending. So for the updated information on the public health orders and how they impact programs, services, and facilities in Richmond, go to our website, richmond.ca/COVID-19, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So, Madam Clerk, bylaws for adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 9 bylaws for final adoption with no noted opposition.
All right, may I have a motion? I'm seeing someone holding their ears. Can you not hear me? Can you hear me? Is there some issue here?
I don't think so, no.
Wave at me if you can hear me. No.
Just our council
All right.
respond that we'll be reconnecting 1 minute in the voting.
Really? Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
We'll just call them Zoom. I don't know.
Welcome to TELUS Cloud Conferencing. Enter your attendee number.
We can try now, Mayor Brody.
Okay. Can you hear me? All right. Did you hear all those announcements? You did not? Because I'll be happy to do it again.
I think we heard most of them.
You heard all the important ones, eh, Harold? Okay, well, I insist, I'll do them all again. Okay, I can't have a good time all night. So Madam Clerk, bylaws for adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 9 bylaws for final adoption with no noted opposition.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That's carried. And Development Permit Panel?
There are 2 recommendations for council. Recommendation 1, that the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on November 25th and the Chair's report for the Development Permit Panel meetings held on September 16th, 2020 be received for information. And number 2, that the recommendations of the panel to authorize the issuance of a development permit for the property at 5591, 5631, 5651, and 5671 Number 3 Road be endorsed and the permit so issued.
So moved.
So it's moved and seconded. Any discussion on that?
Yes, Councillor Wolf here.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wasn't present when this was previously approved, so I received a package in addition to it. So I just had 2 questions for staff, pretty quick ones. What level of step code does this reach? Because in the language in the report I have, it doesn't use step code. It uses lead silver, I think. And then, that's my first question.
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, this development submitted a building permit well prior to the step code implementation date. As such, it will be proceeding with lead silver equivalency and on-site district energy utility.
Okay, great, thank you. And then my final question to staff. Looking at the 40 trees that are going to be removed here, a number of them are along Lansdowne city trees. I was at the muffler shop just on the weekend to the south of it and walked the area. And then there are some trees that are quite significant that are in the parking lot of the Arthritis Research Center. And then I looked into the plans that show where the new trees are going to be, and it seems like the new trees, the replacement trees, are going to be all around the perimeter. Is there any chance that, because I didn't see anything in the report about doing anything beyond the required replacement 2-to-1 ratio thing, but that they actually get significant size soil underneath them so they don't look like the scraggly street trees, and that they actually have some chance to grow back?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, in terms of the trees, any trees planted within the city boulevard along the perimeter of the site, they will be planted within structural soil. That structural soil should allow the trees to flourish. In addition to trees planted around the perimeter of the site, there will also be extensive landscaping on the podium level of the development, as well as an intensive green roof on the mid-rise portion of the building.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I don't want to delay this as an important piece of development that we need to see. Go ahead. I would just look forward to seeing the trees grow large. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Someone move adjournment.
Move adjournment.
Okay, we're now adjourned. Thank you.